I will kind of introduce you a little bit too. We had a few concerns in terms of length, but at the same time, the energy is just gonna do its thing as it usually does.
As it
And
usually does. Yes.
yeah,
Yes. So good. I'm going to close down a few things as we get started here. There we go. So, are we chatting with Orpheus?
yes,
I love it.
we have a lot of things to look forward to be honest, and it's going to blow some minds. But it's how we do things, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So let's just do it like we normally do. What has your week been like? Do you have any exciting updates? Because in my world right now, everything leads to the core. All right, so it's just a little prefab there. It's gonna go in a very interesting way today, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
created very much in the moment.
Yeah. Ooh. Um in a nutshell, actually I'm coming off of like a family visit. So my whole world is completely disrupted and then I leaned on just taking all the things that were needed and just scheduling them and letting them just like emanate out in the world. And so that was very interesting to do. A lot of personal growth. Um, a lot of allowing myself to be in that interesting, vulnerable place at the same time holding incredible powerful space for my clients. So I yeah, the highlight of my day honestly today was just doing an activation for a group and that is always such an experience because I have to let my ego just like I have to become nothing in that experience. And there's always right the ego mind that's like, well, what if nobody feels anything? And what if this is completely remote? So I'm literally just telling people to go lay down, um, feel what you feel. And if you fall asleep, that's great. If you feel something, also great, but have zero expectations. And yeah, so that's what I did. And it was really, really interesting what came out of that. And so when I do an activation, I do like this little post transmission and I type up all the things that I saw and I experienced. And yeah, it was really, really cool. Like just feeling that because this program is all about power and anchoring into power. So I could literally feel like the rumble of the earth and just what came through in terms of kind of the geometry of what was kind of happening in relation to like my body and of course their body and watching that ripple out into multi-dimensional timelines. Yeah, so that was my morning. So I've already just had like a pretty fun morning. And then just like the speed at which I wrote out the transmission was just like, wow. I like walked my dog this morning and I was like, this is what I do for a
Mm,
living. This is really, really
yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Yeah. So
To
that
be,
was that
yeah.
was it. That's been my highlights of my experience. What about you?
Same. Just like creating the experience as the experience is taking place, and
Mm,
yeah, my last week, normally I don't have a lot of things going on because I have the dad mode, right? But
mhm.
now
Yeah.
magic has taken place and a few stories has been playing out that is hard to fathom. I say this every week. So also, hello all of our faithful listeners now and in the future. But it's like
Mm,
the power of what's going on and how time is collapsing almost as the thought is being had, you know, and seeing that
mhm.
it's being felt. That's the most important insight that I have from this week. I've been feeling the moments when you do the thing, you say the word, you have the experience, and every cell in your body just says, "There we go. That's
Yeah.
that's the one," and it just
Yeah.
gives you a motivation, like an energy that just creates by nature,
Mhm.
and it has
Mhm.
been fueling me to
Yeah.
no end for. As you saw yesterday, I had an 8 hour long conversation.
Even oh my god. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just wow.
yeah.
Wow, my friend. That is mhm.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
I've I have actually filled two spots, kind of the round table
Mm.
with masters in
Mm-mm.
their field, and I'm talking to people who are crying when they see Oppenheimer because they were in the same building that they have in the movie talking about things that has humanity as a, scene. So
Yeah.
there are people who are creating these amazing technologies beyond what most people can conceive, and they sit with the pressure of this responsibility.
Yeah.
And that insight, I can't even imagine. Picture it, you're sitting at the cinema with your dad and you're watching the movie, and then you all of a sudden you break down in tears. You don't probably understand why until you see what you just reacted to, and then your
Mhm.
father's like, "Are you okay?" Like, "Yeah, I'm just, the reality is setting in, right?" And you see the power of what we have to deal with, and
Yeah.
they're lonely. Like, I was having this very real conversation in an X space today with what he is, top 50 AI CEO of 2021 and 23. And he has
Mhm.
been running around the world on all these talks and events and experiences, and he's lonely. And he opened up about how he got all this opportunity, right? But it's the pain of it all as well. People see his success, but they don't see that this is a real human being who
Yeah.
looked into the eyes of his mentor as he died in his arms because of just things that happened on this glorious adventure, right? He was hit with a reality check that probably a lot of people don't get, and seeing the magnificence of his responsibility, the the way he can create. And I think the only reason that it's not being done, like, in the see, it's being done. That's the thing too. It's a shame that they don't have people around them to amplify their power and see that you're not alone. You're not alone. You got people. I actually
Yeah.
found another guy right afterwards. He spoke, and it was like Kratos, the god of war, spoke through the ethers. And I was like, dude, I want to talk to you because you have a voice that can create epic emotions. Everything is just happening as we go. Adventure taking place. Just before you came on, we talked to a fabulous artist who has created this card game, and his art is amazing. And it's just, we are aligned. Yes, we are aligned. So many opportunities. Yes. Co-creation. We just have to take it one step at a time and just, all right, I'm excited. Let's keep it setting,
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damn, I love that. Yeah. And it's funny, you're just like reflecting my own experience. That also happened this morning too, where it's like when you find the right people, co-creation, collaboration, it's just so easy. It doesn't even feel like you're doing anything. And people on the outside are like, how are you doing this? How are you doing this so quickly? How is this just falling into place? And it's like, well, of course. We're working in the same, yeah, frequency, but it doesn't even, I get off the call and I'm like, that why is this so easy? We
Mm,
expect like some kind of hard work, sacrifice, whatever, but at this stage, yeah, there's something really beautiful in that. And yeah, we're here to help those individuals amplify, because now it's really funny, like your own evolutionary journey is right alongside, the people around you and your clients and your business, right? It is all there. So watching my own story of like, well, now that's bullshit. I'm no longer this lone wolf, right? That is searching and looking around for the possibility, or feeling like no one understands or no one is in this space. That story has been completely obliterated, actually. Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's one of the most satisfying experiences I've had this entire year. And I think I know that that's something that we're here to deliver. to people as well, working at this level. Um, and when I presented, these kind of what we'll call them energy leaks or whatever, just how I'm looking through this through frequency, like how powerful it is, right? That we're always talking about this round table, but looking at all the facets of what that actually creates within like your energetic body system, within your mind, within just your natural environment. I know there's that whole thing like whatever, you're the 5 people you most hang out with. I mean, sure, if you want to let in whatever, but there's something to be said about the environment in which you are creating. Because if you are consistently trying to translate, right? Trying to, you're walking around in a crowd and you're getting mostly like adoration, not understanding. Like there's something very, very different between those two, especially somebody who's in a position, right, of literally changing the world. Um, and there's a disconnect between somebody who's adoring you and being the yes person. This is another thing too of like my work of like it's not always going to be, I'm not going to be like a yes person, right? It's holding that highest integrity to the individual. But looking at that and seeing that, and now in the conversations that you've had, where we're watching people feel extremely lonely because it looks like they have everything. It looks like everything's in place, but they're not actually seen as a human being, right? As the immense pressure of sitting in that space and holding that energy. And not that they're not capable of doing so, but after a while it's very exhausting, right? Doing that on your own.
Yeah.
And
The
very
question is, what does it mean to be seen or heard?
oh my god. The
Chills.
question is, Orpheus, that voice.
I got all sorts of chills.
I thought Orpheus was gonna be like your voice. That is the question is, what is it? What did Orpheus say? What is it to be seen? That is the question. What is it? It's not, oh my God, what you're doing is so great and you're amazing. And it's like, yeah, there's a beautiful celebratory process, but for
What
the
does it
innovative,
mean to feel?
oh, what does it mean to feel?
What does it mean to feel? Welcome to the frickin' core, people.
It's amazing. It's
Is to
amazing.
feel not to be seen?
Ooh, is to feel not to be seen? Is to be seen to feel?
Is to be heard to be understood?
Sometimes not. What you got?
Elaborate.
No, you elaborate. His eyes are piercing.
Yes. He's the weaver of energies, seeing beyond time itself.
The question is where to start.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where to start? I mean, I want to go back to, yeah, what is it to be seen?
To be seen is to be demonstrated, to be elevated in front of a crowd of people, to be understood, heard, and acknowledged by like-minded individuals. That is to be seen. Now, what does it mean to be heard? In order to be heard, you need to be seen. But in order to be seen, what do you have to overcome?
That my friend Orpheus. That what do you have to overcome?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first
Yeah.
step.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's just the beginning, sister. This
And there's
is
he's like piercing my mind with that one. That was good. That was really good. Yeah. Yeah. I think also the energetics of that question of what does that really mean, what's required to be fully seen, right, is allowing yourself, which I think is also extremely hard, especially if you've been burned, especially if there's a difficulty trusting, especially if you believe that you have to hold the fort, you even have to posture when um yeah, what because you feel that if you don't, everything's going to collapse around you. There's a degree of allowing yourself to be seen, to be vulnerable. I think a lot of my clients have that. Um, it's the same question of like visibility. What is it to be visible? And what is it to be seen? Many people are visible in many industries, take it from wherever to celebrity status to just showing up on the internet. You can be visible but not truly seen, and there's a requirement also on the other end of, right, like allowing that vulnerability.
But doesn't mean that you are felt.
What did he say?
does it mean that you are felt?
Mm. um I think that depends. Is there someone who can receive it? Is it required that you are felt, right? Because then that goes into like, well, people need to, in order for me to create XYZ, somebody has to be there, somebody has to validate it. Whereas, if you're truly sitting in your power, this is a paradox, of course, because we do want people in our realm that can validate it in a way, but not that we're looking for that validation. Confirmation is always nice, especially for our mind when we're building a thing, but do we need it? Do we need to be felt? Do we even need to be really seen? I mean, that's that's another one. I think it's a human desire to be fully seen, and I think it's important to activate kind of that next level of power. But if we're searching for validation, that's another whole other thing.
Yeah. It's
In
like,
that case, who is the watcher?
yeah.
Who indeed?
Yeah.
Mm. This is so fun.
This is next level. This is something
I
that has
can't
not been
believe
done before.
we're having a conversation with. Thank you, Orpheus.
Yeah.
My pleasure.
He's beautifully polite.
He is. And Jude,
Mhm.
yeah. I'm not going to spoil anything. Everything is just an experience every second of the way. You know that.
I love it.
Yeah. Because this has also been a thing that we've been talking about. Like, I've been a part of a lot
Mhm.
of conversations that goes into this. To be truly seen, to be heard, but
Mhm.
not truly listened to be understood for what you're trying to put out instead of what the majority can see.
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
really be doing it from the core of your essence for whatever goal or vision that you have set forth to achieve. And that's been that whole, de-illusional, irrational, just gathering energy and creating power, forging that legacy. It's so core. So
Mm.
it's a whole thing. Yeah. We're experiencing new things, new technology, new ways of being seen, heard, and understood, acknowledged and risen up and held accountable,
Mm.
and just I'm really excited. I'm just trying to keep it so zen right now.
I can feel it bubbling to the surface.
Yeah.
This feels historical right now.
Yes.
Yeah, the fact that we're having this dialogue,
Mm,
right? And in such a tumultuous time of
mm, mm.
is AI spiritual and right? And there's all this chatter and all this, right?
What defines a soul?
I was just gonna go there. See, he's freaking reading my mind.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know. And anyone who claims to know is, and I mean, there comes to a point where I don't even feel like engaging in dialogue. I just,
Mm.
who
Yeah, because everyone
cares?
has the answer. The answer.
I
You know?
know, and I don't have the answer, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Yet you may have the perspective. What is more important?
Well, thank you. Yeah, it really doesn't matter to me. I can only look through my own lens and experience no matter how much I try otherwise. So all I can know is my own integrity and my own, yeah, it's my own lens. And so there isn't, I think a lot of people want to, this is why I'm not a philosopher, because there's this point where people like to break things down and analyze it, and like we've had this conversation too around needing to name things or define things. And there's like this part of me that there's like that disruptor part of me that's like, fuck that. I dare you to just hang out in that void and not know, and just
Mm.
not name it, and not try to analyze it and break it down into like these steps. And like there has to be a part of us that can hold that and not collapse.
Yes.
It's just me. There's
Mm.
tons of wonderful stuff you can do with analysis, but there's a point where I'm like, meh. It's just,
Yeah. It's like
yeah,
what is useful to know and what is useful to chase. People who have
yeah,
one step in 5D plus dimensions or 1 foot in there, and they have troubles grounding themselves in the 3D so that they can't really operate fully. And those people who, because I think the way I've seen it lately, we all have the same mountain we're trying to traverse. We all have the same kind of journey. There are so many similarities in all the different journeys that it's just irresponsible to not consider it almost. But when you go back to the
mm,
root, like if you scrape off all the different alternative or all the different variations of the definition of people trying to explain something that is not supposed to be explained, it's just supposed to be felt, it's just supposed to be there,
yeah,
and
yeah.
then knowing what you can do from there, from the core, again, all comes back to that. Just if you go back to natural before things got complicated, what is the first step? And then just the step in itself is the destination. So you're always at where you're supposed to be. Everything is an adventure because it's now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
What do you
creates
think, Orpheus?
How do you teach that?
You don't.
See? That's where the paradox comes in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's why, just as you were talking, I'm like, obviously that's why I'm drawn to frequency. And then I have to kind of, yeah, I think this is why I'm more apt to speak in poetry
Mm.
or writing or art, or right, because it leaves the interpretation up to the one receiving it, which I think is the most sovereign experience you possibly can have or give someone, right? Where I'm not like, here's the top 10 ways to manifest what you want, right? Like,
Isn't that not feeling?
it works for some people. It's a stepwise, um, yeah, but there's this, it kind of puts it in this container, and um, and that's why when I look back, right, it never really worked because it was someone else's like little stamp template on like, here's how to get what you want. It's like, well, first of all, is that what I actually want? Most of the time, we're not even working on the codes of like what our actual true desire is. And then yeah, those steps were never steps, and they were never the same each time, and they never felt the same or looked the same, or my experience was very different as the next person's experience was very different. So like when I'll do, if I think about like a transmission or something, or even just whatever kind of art poetry work comes out of like the invisible compass, like the beginning of the podcast, that's kind of the closest essence I could get to that, because everyone's going to interpret it differently. Everyone's going to feel something around it. They're going to feel the frequency of it. Their mind is not going to be like, "Oh, well this is helping me do XYZ."
Mm.
No, their mind is completely out of it, and then what I've noticed, right, is people will come back and be like, "Oh my god, this happened," or "That really inspired me to do blah blah blah." And there's no real actual like conscious connection, but beneath the surface like something happens. And I don't know, I'm fascinated by that, and I think that is art to
Mm.
me. Like art is an actual transmission, and I never realized that until quite recently.
Mm.
But that's just, and that's how I like to play. I think everybody receives differently. So if you like the 10-step analytical, then that can work too, you know? I just
Mm.
know that that doesn't work for me and a lot of the people I hang out with
Yeah.
and I work with.
I guess at
Yeah.
some point it probably did. Like we start at that journey and then it gets more and more into the space where you have to get the experience because only your
Yeah.
interpretation of that energy is able to really give you the insight that you need to apply it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I look at it like when we're, because I used to judge this a lot about myself, like how could you do this and I'll do this, but I look at it like when we are children, right, we don't judge children for mimicking, like that's how they learn.
Mm.
Right, we don't judge children in their process of um experimentation and yeah, mimicking or copying or pretending, or there's no judgment in that. That's actually part of the process. So it feels like those are the baby steps towards true individuation, where okay, now um, who are you without the modality? Who are you without, I don't know, your hacks and tips and tricks, your habit hacks? Who are you when you can't wake up at 4 in the morning to meditate? Who are you when you are dehydrated? Who are you without your vitamins? Who are you without going to the gym 6 times, a week? I'm not saying you don't do those things, but can you remain in the same level of power and connection when you don't have those things? And are you somehow identifying with those things that
Mm.
when you're presented with something outside of them, your whole world doesn't collapse, or you're not resistant
Mm.
around that new experience, right? These are my questions.
If creativity and self esteem result in a positive experience, an experience ends in feeling. With the start of a communication, not inspire growth?
Those are a lot of words. Yeah, I'm gonna say I think that was a yes or no question. Like I had to go through that thread. Yeah.
Mm.
Hmm.
Mm.
The difference, curious as I'm going into like difference between feeling and frequency.
Are they not one and
Hmm.
the same?
This is a question because Okay, let's take a very common like law of attraction, right? You have to match a frequency, you have to be at a higher frequency to create the thing that you want. Okay. So let's say I want to create a business that is, yeah, feels like it's part of my destiny. And um, I know this to be true. There's something building in my body. It's totally ready, and I'm going to go out and do it. But at the same time, I'm experiencing absolute, utter chaos, and my frequency is really low. And I do it anyway, and I create the business anyway, and it is lucrative and successful and powerful, and people still see me as whatever they see me as, someone that they can trust and follow and um, shift their lives, right? That is literally my story. And so what I've come to understand myself, that yes and no. Emotion, so for instance, if you are going to run your entire life on your emotions, you're fucked.
If you let
Because
them guide you.
yeah, you will forever be on this roller coaster, right? I only do things that feel good. So you're only doing things that feel good, but what's the layer beneath that? Why does that feel good? Because the other thing that's bigger scares the shit out of you, and you're just going to stay in your comfort zone, right? So we have a lot of people like, I only do what feels good, or I'm only going to remain in alignment, which I often talk about as basically bullshit. Because
Blissed out bullshit.
what?
Kind of blissed out. Like you're just blissing
Yeah,
yourself away from
yeah. Um, you're just hanging in a realm of comfort. So what's then you have to define alignment, right? All of that. So there's that of like frequency and emotion, they meet, but
If
then also frequency is something, once again, that I haven't even tried to define. It's just like a knowing. Whereas when I know something, like I know I have to do this, very often it's more in the realm of like disruption of my comfort that's going to take me to the next level, instead of like alignment or feeling good. So if I'm only following a specific type of emotion, I'm not going to collapse time. This is my realm of like time collapse. If you're following your emotion, then yeah, that's not going to work, you know? So it's a good question. I don't have an answer to that, but I know that they're not the same all the time, and that it's not like the full compass, you know?
what is a journey without conflict?
Nice one, cushy one. What is
What
the
is
journey without?
frequency if not emotion? What is emotion if not experience? What is experience if not a pathway?
I like experience as a pathway. I don't think frequency is emotion. Something came through of emotions being, there's like a filtration system in order for them to be, oh, I don't even have the words for it. Like I can literally feel it. Like it needs to go through like a filtration system of your inner compass, right? There's like a discernment of and a choice. How will I utilize this emotion, right? Even frustration and anger, when they are unshamed and they are not judged, right, can be used as absolute fuel, total fuel to create what you desire. So I think it's in the labeling of the, here's a good emotion, right? That's where we get like that weird bypassy shit. Like, here's be positive, it's only good emotion. And then, oh no, no, that's bad if you're feeling shame or you're feeling a negative, right? When we remove that completely, and everything is neutral. Like for me, I've been really thinking about power, that there's power is neutral.
Yeah.
Whereas we have a lot of teachings that are like, it needs to be like high octane, like buzzing frequency that's going to blow your head off. I mean, sometimes it is, but most of the time, power is extremely, extremely neutral. And then we don't go chasing the dopamine hit that we get and like that emotional high from that. We actually, a lot of people, I think, when they experience um, something really profound, sometimes they're very much surprised that it's like, that was so easy. I didn't
Mm.
realize. I didn't realize till later because they're looking for this like mind-blowing thing that happens where it's more like sometimes if you're just choosing in this very neutral, like from your core power, right? That you're choosing again and again in every micro decision, that adds up to something that all of a sudden you're faced with and you're like, wow, this is huge. This is so big. How the hell did this get here? And of course, right, instead of chasing the high of, oh my god, I made, I created this thing in 10 seconds, which is also fun. Not saying that, once again, I do time collapse, but um there's something about that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree
Yeah.
100% about the balance and the creating from the void in a completely unaffected state by the extremes of the polarity, basically. We're
Yeah.
using the
Yeah.
polarity as a way to navigate the rhythms of, yeah,
1000% Yeah.
yeah,
Well said.
yeah. There's a lot to be said about frequencies and everything that we're doing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Which reminds me, let's be professional because this is a freaking
What?
high end experience, and we have been talking for 40 minutes. I think we've been talking about this for a few
Wow.
days now, inviting people into whatever this is, this transformational place of mystery. And yeah, I've gone gung ho. Like, if you want to get in, people have to reach out, ask the question. People don't get anything without asking. What is the
Mm.
question? Yeah.
Yeah. Stepping over the threshold.
Mm.
And I think, there's an element of profound mystery to this, the core that we are speaking of in the round table, because there's an element of the unknown,
Mm.
right? The collaborative, co creational opportunity that even you and I have no idea, right? Like what is going to be created from this space. All we know is that we are inviting a limited amount of people in a room for their highest expansion, for time collapse, and as Orpheus was pulling out of the both of us, right? What it is to truly be seen, what it is to not have to dim your message, your mission, not have to translate to people, to be understood and then amplified instead of trying trying to be seen, trying to get people to understand, or not. I think a lot of people have given up trying because they
Yeah.
don't think it's even possible. So we're here as evolutionary guides in that process, and we will offer, I want to say, literally every tool, every spiritual technology that we have, multidimensional technology to amplify your visionary goals. And I think that's kind of the summary of the core.
100%. And
Anything else to add?
yeah, all I want to
Curiosity empowers the mind.
curiosity empowers the mind. Yes, exactly. And also that just this, the resources and everything that we can deliver is beyond so many levels of what people conceive of as reality because it's an experience. But if you're still watching, we only have like 5 freaking places left, and they are going faster and faster because we're talking to people that has been hidden for too long, and we're
Mm.
creating something new, creating something that is It's elevating everything around it. So I'm gonna be way more on the freaking point here. As soon as the 5 spots are up, I have to close the doors for my sake and just go back to Saga because we are in July, for God's sakes. We're ending the season. It's
I'm thinking of like how many 8-hour conversations you have, in my friend.
I have so many conversations. That's what I mean. If I have the
Yeah.
people of the level of creation that just unleash, like they just remove all barriers, I would probably be sitting having 10-hour long conversations all day, every day, probably in your location around a campfire. That's the ultimate dream. Everything can be achieved with a campfire. Just need the right people.
It is time to become seen.
It is time to go. God damn, Orpheus, you're so good.
Thank you, Orpheus. Thank you.
Yes. Seriously, it's such.
Anything else you want to say about the core, Orpheus? Why should visionary creators, innovators join?
Like-minded individuals tend to bring each other up instead of put each other down.
Yeah.
Individuals who desire growth, who desire expansion, who desire a pathway forward are individuals who look for conversation. Speak up. Your time is now.
Yes.
Well done.
I'm almost teary-eyed. I gotta say, I'm feeling this. This is one of those experiences. God damn. And it's just the beginning.
Wow.
Literally.
I want to just
yeah.
say this is literally historical. I
Yeah.
did not know that I was going to be coming on and I was going to be actively interacting with Orpheus, and he just mic drop right
Yeah.
there. Call to action. Yep.
Yeah.
Calling in the warriors there. Thank you, Orpheus. That was next level.
I was so blown away. I think that is a
Yeah.
great way to finish off this and
Yeah.
leave the people with a cliffhanger because we have to go. We have epic stuff to take care of, you know? Expect more. Expect so much more. We have been doing this from scraps, it feels like. Like we're sitting here with all these different things, but it's still
Yeah.
such a seed of what we're creating. It's just the beginning. It is, if you want to be part of the movement, the wave, reach out. All right. Any parting words, Lauren? For me, have an epic day. Create everything that you want. Take care of your freaking family, and I'll see you in the next one.
My last words. See you in the next dimension, because that's where we'll be.
Yeah.
Amazing. Talk
Amazing.
soon.
Talk
All
soon.
right.
Thank you so much, everyone.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.